Hello and welcome to episode 9 of Pacific Horseplayers right here on the HHH Racing Podcast. I'm your host, Noah Meagher, joined by my wonderful co-host and good friend, Mr. Ryan Anderson. We got another terrific show for you tonight covering Los Alamitos. The late pick 4 and the grade 2 Los Alamitos Futurity is the feature on the card on Saturday. And a little bit later on tonight, hopefully we can get him on at a decent time. We will be joined by trainer Doug O'Neill to talk about one of his contenders' rank in the Los Alamitos Futurity. So make sure you stay on for that. Before we do that, let's go ahead and go through some admin real quick. You can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor. Of course, we got the Power Picks keep going as Ryan is currently ear raping us with his water bottle. Ryan, your microphone is really loud right now, and it's hard to concentrate. But if you tune that down a little bit, maybe we can get things figured out. Of course, you can check out the Power Picks, $2.10 ROI. Those have been going real well. We've got a lot of good racing this weekend. B&B just finished up a show about Gulfstream. And then tomorrow night, Picks and Ponies are covering the new synthetic stakes at Turfway. So I'm sure both those tracks will be on there. We'll have some great coverage there with Howard, Pete, and Paul. So make sure you go check that out. And you can go check that out and purchase those on Patreon. And, of course, you can do that at our website, hhhracingpodcast.com. Ryan, sounds like we're ready to go. But before we handicap, we do have a bit of a special guest to join us. It's not quite Doug, but it's as close as we could get. It is his nephew, Mr. Shane O'Neill. Shane, this is actually the first time I've talked to you, so it's very nice to meet you, and we're very fortunate to have you on to talk about this Pick 4.
Great to meet you, Noah. Happy to be here.
Yeah, no, glad to have you. I guess before we get into it, I'll ask you a couple questions yourself. What's it like working for your uncle? How'd you kind of get into that realm? And the most important question, how do you deal with Ryan texting you all the time?
No, Ryan, I don't know what you're talking about. Ryan never asked for any steam or anything like that. No.
Oh, of course.
No, so I'm 21. I go to UCLA and I work for Doug, just doing little things here and there. You know, if he needs a couple horses nominated to a stake or something, like Dr. Ruben M. we got on Friday at Remington. I help him run some of the ownership groups. Like you'll see the owner of Dr. Ruben M. is a group called the Del Mar Group, which is a group of investors that some high-profile individuals actually. Chip Kelly's in that group. Coach Rick Pitino's in that group. Kind of help manage that, send out weekly texts and stuff like that, keep everyone updated. So I do kind of some of that administrative work. And but I've been involved in the barn since I was born, going to Clockwork Corner at Santa Anita every weekend. So I'm kind of a little bit of a familiar face at Santa Anita and have had a lot of fun growing up, and have also been able to travel with the team to some big events. I think I've been to 6 Kentucky Derbies and both of our wins, which is sometimes I wake up and think, how incredibly lucky am I to have experienced those events. So it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Glad to hear it. Glad you are a young gun in the game, just like Ryan and I. Ryan, I'll go to you real quick as you maybe tune your mic down a little more because it is very loud. But how did you get involved with Shane? What have your interactions been with him? And just tell a little bit about your relationship with Shane.
Yeah, sorry if my mic – is my mic okay now?
It's pretty loud, but it's manageable.
Man, okay, my bad. I don't know why it's like that right now. But, met Shane this summer at Del Mar. Awesome guy, obviously. I forget originally how I came into contact. I know I was just in and out of the paddock a lot throughout summer, and I think that was more or less how things came to be. But, obviously always been a big fan of the O'Neill barn because you guys send out runners in fun places, and it's always just fun to see where your horse is going to run next, how they're going to do, and again, there's nobody that looks like he's having a more fun time at the track than Doug O'Neill. He's just always having a good day. So, but it's been awesome to get to know you, and met him out at Sunny Del Mar, and that's it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Before we do the handicapping and what we're here to do, check out some people in the chat. Katie's here. She's ready for Doug to come on. He is currently on a plane, I believe, Shane. So maybe we'll get him a little bit later. Maybe you can update me in the private chat, Shane, if he ends up coming on a little bit earlier than expected. But we'll get him on as soon as we can. Chris Couples, first Derby winner I won money on was I'll have another. That's awesome. And Chris Couples was actually a guest on B&B right before us. So go check that out. Again, like I mentioned, they covered the Gulfstream, Tropical Park Oaks and Derby. So make sure you go check that out. Mostly people are laughing about Ryan and his loud mic. Matt says, Ryan, that mic sensitivity is on high for sure. Didn't you just do a show earlier? What?
Yeah, and the mic was fine. I genuinely have not touched a thing, so I don't know what could have gone wrong. That's technology at its finest, though.
Yeah, Matt says it's the best channel anyway, so you got that right. Boss is here. What's up, Shane? Great to have you and your uncle on the show. Looking forward to having him on there. But let's go ahead and get these things rolling. First race is race 6. It is made special weight, 6 furlongs for 2-year-old fillies. Got a field of 7. Morning line favorite, I would probably assume, goes either down to the inside with the 1 Rio del Sol or the 3 Lava Lucy. I'll go ahead and get our picks up on the screen. We're actually all going with the 3 Lava Lucy, the Calbred, for Ayuso and Mendez. Shane, I'll throw it to you first. What would you like about this 2-year-old filly?
Yeah, Mendez always has him ready to run. I think the main reason I picked her on top is just a sort of lack of talent from the rest of the field, at least the established runners. Mendez always has him ready to go. They paid $46,000 when she was a yearling. Dad's captain will take charge bottom side, so pedigree's definitely there, in my opinion. Steady work tab coming into the race, into the debut. And like I said, when Mendez has a 2-year-old that, to me, honestly, when Mendez has a steady work tab 2-year-old coming in with a decent pedigree that they paid some money for, the horse is going to take money. And if the horse isn't taking money, probably a pretty good indication that you might want to stay away. So to me, this is a weak group for the level, and I think this is kind of the logical to end up on. And I don't see any of the established runners making much of an effort. Prime and Ready, the Richard Baltus training, maybe coming back from the turf to the dirt, but to me, it's going to be a Louis Mendez winner here.
Yeah, I think you're right on it, and Ryan obviously thinks so. Ryan, I'll let you touch on her quickly before. Mendez, it seems like he's better with the first-time starters when he sprints. I don't exactly have the stat there, but I do have the stat on the right. As you can see, he is 23% at Los Al for the last 5 years, so definitely fires when he brings his horses down to Cyprus.
Yeah, and it's the 2-year-old. It's the first-time starters. That's the angle. Obviously, we all saw this pretty much the exact same way. Picking Louis Mendez on top here. And then Ayuso off to a great start at the meet. 4 wins out of 8 mounts, 1 in second. That's hitting at 50%. That's great. But again, yeah, if he takes money, he's going to be live. And I mean, that's pretty much that. Yeah,
it's actually a she. So if we were on Bet and Booth, we have to drink. Ryan, you're really off. You're struggling to start the show. But yeah, Shane, I think you make a great point about the intent here. This is a Calbred, and they definitely could have, faced Calbred fillies, 46,000 as a yearling, as you said, working really nice, 48 flat over on November 24th, and then 47 went out of the gate last time. So it looks like she's primed and ready to go. And like you said, I don't know if she really has to beat a ton. Shane, we'll go to the horse that you have in second. Is that prime and ready, or is that Polythene Pam? Sorry, we don't have the numbers here.
No, you're good. No, I did pick Polythene Pam, or however you're going to say that, second. But Prime and Ready, I think is the logical horse that has started, the filly that started, that's going to take some money. Mm-hmm. But I think Polythene Pam, I do like second. One thing to note here, California Racing Partners, I'm pretty sure that's a Larry Zapp, picked out by Larry Zapp, who's got a good eye at the sales. So this horse is, just like the Louis Mendez, has taken a while to get to the races as a kind of a late 2-year-old filly now. They paid $50,000 for a Keeneland September sale. I would guess pretty late in the sale, but another great pedigree, Violence and Tis Now Bottom Side, which to me maybe thinks that she kind of snuck through a little bit at the sale. And Lee Barosio, definitely a very solid trainer. Doug has a ton of respect for Lee and really respects what he does. Another solid work tab also coming into here. and Kyle Frey getting the mounts, and kind of I would say at Los Al, post position too, probably a big difference than being down towards the inside, especially when they make the 6 runs, so they got to run it outside there. Mm-hmm. So I mean, really, we're kind of just firing shots. I feel in a maiden race like this, but any little bit counts. So I would say this horse underneath. The only thing, I mean, nothing really scares me about this horse. Worked a bullet 47-4 out of 62 horses 2 weeks ago, or just over a week ago. So horse is definitely ready to run. And like I said, I respect where she came out of the sales. So definitely think she's got a shot, and maybe we'll sneak under the radar a little bit on the top board just because no big name connections.
Yeah, you make a good point. I wonder what she'll be on the line, and I wonder what she'll be when they pop the gates. It's definitely nice that we get this as the first race of the sequence. If you are playing the pick 4, the $1 late pick 4, you do get to see if she's taking money. You mentioned the works, and I think you should get a decent price just because Barocchio doesn't bring a lot of horses to Los Al, excuse me. Not really a first time guy, but like you said, the breeding's there. Some intent here, and like you mentioned when you were talking about the 3, there's really no world beaters in here. So if you can get a decent price, I think you demand it. You can get it there. Ryan, we've got the 1 in second, Rio del Sol. This is probably maybe the morning line favorite if I had to guess. But this is JJ McCarthy, presumably is going to take money, but really hasn't done much on the track so far.
Hasn't done a whole lot. Turning back off the 2 route races to start the career for this filly. I like the bullet work too back on November 30th. Seemed to have some sharp works coming in, and then it looks like just a maintenance 4 furlong work on December 7th. So that tells me this horse is ready. Obviously, JJ is aboard today. Rispoli and Pratt. Well, Pratt's in town, but Rispoli kind of takes this time off to, take some well-deserved vacation. So JJ aboard. Obviously, he's no slouch in the saddle. He's typically the leading rider wherever he rides out in Southern California. So I like this one coming in, turning back. Maybe just a bit of a hit the reset button, but it's encouraging that this one sold for $170,000 after only, pretty low sire fee at $3,500.
Yeah, she was polarizing just because she's been 7-2 in those races, those 2 starts that she's had. Those fields are definitely better than this one, but you would have been a little more encouraged to see her maybe lift a hoof or 2 in those 2 efforts. She is cutting back, so maybe that does help her. Maybe she doesn't want the 2 turns, but she's never really passed anybody. So my thought here is if the 3, maybe the 2 for your Uncle Shane, who we'll quickly touch on before we move on to the next race. If one of those horses gets loose, I just don't really know if she's proven to be good enough to pass horses and to go by. And I have a feeling she's going to be pretty low on the board, and I just don't know if she deserves it. But we will touch on the horse that your Uncle Doug does have. Gemmadini was she was the victim of the 0 buyer angle, 2 back in her debut, and then last time was in a very hot pace and lost to a horse that looks to be pretty good going forward for the Baffert barn.
Yeah, this is a homebred for Glenn Sorgenstein, longtime owner of Doug's, who we really we had Golden Sense with Glenn in 2013. I want to say the 2-time Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile winner back to back. So really hope that Gemmadini kind of picks it up a little bit for Glenn and connections. But yeah, I think going into the debut, 29-1, and I know we weren't expecting a ton. Definitely working better lately, for sure. I mean, you can just look at the work tab. Yeah, she's been doing better lately. Doug is kind of a rare to see him throw a 6 furlong work on there, and they did that last week. So I didn't get to ask him about what was the logic there, but maybe just trying to get a little bit more into her. But yeah, I think, like you said, they went 22-1, 45-2 last time out when she was setting the pace, and definitely quit that day. But you get Freysu on board, and I know that Doug definitely thinks she's got a chance. And like you said, you got to play the board. And if she takes a little too much action with the connections, then you might have to just stay away. But definitely hoping that she keeps on improving and we can get to the winner's circle.
Yeah, we've touched on it. It's not a great group, so would I be completely surprised if she just wires this field at 8-10 to 1. I absolutely not. I think you guys got a decent shot. And looking forward to see how she does in her third career start. But we'll move on to race 7. In race 6, I'm going 3-1, Ryan's going 3-1, and Shane's going 3-7. Normally we do top 3, but for this sake, we are doing top 2 just because why not? Change it up a little bit. Before we move on to race 7, Ryan, I'll actually let you ask this question from the chat. This is from Matt Miller. He asks, what does it mean when you pick against your uncle's horses?
Well, this has been a long time issue of mine because it's the famous adage, when I pick against him. Well, first off, when I pick against a Doug horse, it usually means I have not talked to Doug and I don't know. I try to go into it with a clear head. I try to just handicap without the heart in it, because when I start thinking, oh, I want Doug's horses to win, and I handicap with that logic, I can't be objective, right? And obviously, I want to go to the winner's circle as many times a day as I can when I'm at the racetrack. So, anyways, but when I pick against a Doug horse, it just means I'm trying to be objective, for sure. And most of the time, I don't ask Doug what he thinks his horse is till race day. And another thing you got to keep in mind: every trainer you ask the racetrack is going to tell you their horse is live. Maybe some trainers will say more than others. Some trainers say, this horse is doing really good, something like that. But the most part, we don't want to ever dissuade people from betting a Doug horse, because first off, if they win and we say we didn't like it, that can create issues from an optics perspective. But I just try to be objective, and I don't talk to Doug until the day of the race to see what our chances are.
Yeah, I like it. You make a good point about trainers they're not going to say that their horse doesn't have a chance. So you have to kind of read between the lines per se. But we'll go ahead and move on to race 7. I'll get the picks up at the bottom of the screen and get the PPs or the entries up at EchoBase. This is the second leg of the sequence, race 7. Another maiden special weight. This is for open company for the 2-year-old boys. Got a field of 9, morning line favorite, could go a number of different ways. I thought this was a very difficult race, and it looks like we all thought the same way. Shane, I'll go back to you first, of course, because you are the guest. You are going with the 8, One Smoking Dude for Frey and Meagher, who looks to be coming from off the pace.
Yeah, I think this, like you said, this took me the longest race this was the longest one for me to look at. And I kind of ended up thinking that the 3, James Braddock, was going to take most of the money. I thought he'd go off as the favorite just because of Pereira and Knapp they really do pretty well together. So I was thinking with One Smoking Dude, going to try to take a horse that is, to me, the most established runner in the field, a horse who's already started, a colt who's already got a few races under his belt. I think he's improving. And if you're a buyer player, you would say in the buyers that he's improving. You get Frey in the irons as well. And one angle for me too, I think his last race was tougher than looks for the level, in my opinion. They went 103-3, so they were kind of smoking along there throughout, 21-3, and ended up finishing 103-3. So a respectable race, in my opinion, even though it was only a field of 5. I'm pretty sure that Godwin Cotton was kind of a well-respected horse and went off at 4-5, as you can see there. So I think ran against it last time, so I kind of excused losing by quite a bit, and really only got beat a half length for third. So essentially, I almost finished third in that race, and two back finished pretty well at 5-1. So to me, I think that the favorite will be that first-time starter that you guys will talk about in just a moment. But I'm trying to take a stand here and get a horse that might be improving. And they paid $90,000 for the horse, so obviously they have some respect for the colt, and they think hopefully they think he's going to have some talent moving forward.
Yeah, I don't have any problem with them. Ryan, this was, I believe this was a race that we might have talked about, or maybe we were talking about outside of StreamYard, just because we were talking about Got 'em, Caught 'em. Could have been one of the, maybe it was a pick 6 carryover at Del Mar. Got 'em, Caught 'em was coming out of one of those state bred races on the Undercard or Breeders' Cup. So it was a horse that we definitely had our eye on. So what were your thoughts with One Smoking Dude?
Yeah, One Smoking Dude certainly has improved race over race, paired up buyer tops leading into that last out effort. Ultimately, I ended up going to his outside with Glass of Jameson, but I thought One Smoking Dude definitely, to Shane's point, ran better than looks last time out to get fourth in there. Yeah, 103 was flying, and I do think that was a pick six carryover day that we were speaking about there.
Yeah, no, I think I don't disagree with anything that's been said. I'll throw it back to you, Ryan, because you've got the 9 glass of Jameson to the outside. Calbred, Fresu, Urton. Normally he's pretty good with his first-time starters, or at least decent. But found it interesting that he's 0 for 9 with firsters at Los Al, so maybe not bringing his best. Maybe not necessarily his best, but maybe the ones that are not most prominent early. But then again, you see 24% with 2-year-olds. So what'd you like about this cold out of clubhouse ride?
Yeah, I saw the 0 for 9 stat at Los Al, and obviously that should be taken into account. I think a lot of that maybe is just his 2-year-olds. You kind of want him to peak at Del Mar, you'd imagine, with that being kind of the premier meet. You're running for the biggest purses, yada, yada. So I think this one just maybe was a late bloomer. You can see this one had a work tab in July and then just kind of tailed off till late October. So maybe just wasn't right, wasn't mature enough, whatever it might be, maybe a slight issue, but comes in here off a really nice steady series of works starting from October 28th into now up at Santa Anita. So comes in here off of a 5 furlong work in 102. So clearly has a nice amount of stamina. I don't think he was asked to do too much in there. Urton's good with first-time starters, has a 234 ROI from his 43 starter sample size. You mentioned the 24% with 2-year-olds. Fresu sees fit to stick aboard here. He's become one of, Urton's more kind of go-to guys with live mounts, which is something I like to see. Obviously, the clubhouse rides just keep producing runner after runner. So nice outside draw. I think this one might be able to get a little bit of tactical position. So I'm just hoping Glass of Jameson's in a good spot and can hopefully find the winner's circle. And I might even have myself a glass of Jameson.
I definitely won't be having myself a glass of Jameson. Maybe a glass of what? Capri Sun.
Capri Sun for you. Capri Sun for you till January.
Drink in the comments, whatever. Thought this was interesting, Ryan. She's a Milky Way. The dam was pretty good going long on the turf, which kind of made me believe that, plus the stat, maybe he just needs one. But then again, you could definitely be right. Glass of Jameson could definitely be pouring it on, quote unquote, as they turn for home. We'll go to the 3 because I've got the 3 in first. Ryan, you've got the 3 in second. This is a first time starter for Steve Knapp, Tiago Pereira. Like Shane mentioned, could be the morning line favorite come post time.
Yeah, I think this one is going to be the first time post time favorite. Excuse me. Shane brought up a great point. Knapp and Pereira do some of their best work when they team up together. This one just looks like the horse to beat. I know this one hasn't. Won before. Great comment from Howard, or hasn't ran before rather. But comes in here nice. I mean, the 3 furlong drill. That's just a nice little blowout before the race. 21% with first time starters. A really healthy ROI of 267. Pereira's his go-to guy, especially at Los Al, where Steve Knapp's hitting at 40% with 6 additional in the money. So he's only had 3 miss the board completely of the 15 starters so far in this short meet. So, I mean, all the confidence in the world to a barn that is clearly firing on all cylinders here.
Yeah, you got that right. Definitely for sure. 2-year-old colt by Jimmy Creed. He's 16% with his 2-year-olds, 11% with 2-year-old first-time starters. So I don't know what I just did there. But so, pretty decent. What struck me was on the dam side was Sunday Rules. She was a pretty nice horse for Miotti. Actually went over to Keeneland, ran into Madison, didn't work out, but was good on the California circuit at Santa Anita. Won the Cal Cup Sprint in January of 2016. And then some siblings are some horses that probably you and Shane know quite a bit. Bronco Nagurski, Loretta Lynn was a stakes place horse. John Dunbar is okay, but they're all kind of within the lineage of Nick Alexander, Steve Miotti. So it's interesting that Steve Knapp trains his colt. This is a pretty early colt too in February, so he's definitely kind of filled out. He definitely should be ready to go progression-wise. Work tab is fine. He's good with first-time starters. You can see with the 21%. I think he is a not quite as good at Los Al. Maybe just doesn't bring his best stuff, but again, I think there's some intention here. So I've got him in the mix. And then I've got the 4 Got Soul in second, who I'll touch on real quick. Was in a pretty tough 5 furlong turf sprint at Del Mar, I thought. set the pace and just kind of faded back, which is nothing to really excuse there. A decent effort on debut. Off for a little while, runs up at Pleasanton for Andy Mathis. Didn't break great, but kind of made a middle move to kind of contend with the lead, and then backed up a little bit. I don't think that field was maybe as good as this one, but I think maybe there's still some progression here. Second off the layoff for Andy Mathis. They went sub 46, which you can't see necessarily coded because they don't have them for Pleasanton, at least that race on November 17th. But I thought they went pretty quick, was part of a hot pace and had to work to get there. So I'm going to give him another shot, and Kimura hopping aboard kind of caught my eye. So I think he's one to consider. Shane, I'll throw it to you. Was there really any other horses that you kind of considered before we move on to we'll actually go to the 9th first. We'll skip the Futurity for now.
The 2 horse.
Okay, let's talk about the 2.
Yeah, Nap underneath. Yeah, for Mr. Racing, Paul Redham, a big owner of Doug's and a long time in our 2 Kentucky Derbies with Mr. Redham. So always like seeing him in the winner's circle, and of course Mario Gutierrez, who has kept him out on this colt or this gelding for a while. Main reason I'm interested in this horse is the cutback. I really like seeing a 2-year-old that steps up to a mile, tries it out, especially when they set the pace action. They're really asked to do quite a bit, and then gets the cutback. Really, in my opinion, not much excuse last time out. 23-4 to 49-1, and was cleared at least a length and a half in front. So not a ton of excuses last time, and was 7-1 that day. But with the cutback, has some form from earlier in the 2-year-old season. In June and July, was running solid. It was running races that might beat this group, frankly. But as you get later in the season, some 2-year-olds catch up to others. Some don't progress as much. This might be a horse that is not advancing like his 2-year-old friends are. But if the cutback does help, I think he could be quite competitive and may sneak under the tote board as well. So a little interesting.
Yeah, I thought he was one to consider just because when I first looked at him, you make a lot of great points, Shane. He's had quite a few chances. I mean, I don't know when the last time I've seen a 2-year-old run 7 times before they turn 3. So a lot of action there from Garcia. Garcia's been eager to get him on the track and try to get him into the winner's circle for the first time. You look at his work tab. His works before that turf race were not really that great. And then you look at his last 2. It looks like he's maybe found something. 35 and 2, 3 out of 11, but still pretty fast for 3 furlongs. And then 47 and 2. Maybe he just takes to that all-weather training track at Santa Anita. But I think it's something you have to consider. And like you said, Shane, he's got races to go back to that compete with this group. He's classy. Garcia thought enough to throw him into Graduation, where maybe he was a little over his head. Tried the turf last time. Maybe the talent is there, but just can't quite get over the hump. And maybe that's Saturday. Brian, anything to add with him or anybody else before we move on to race 9?
No, I agree. The cutback is interesting for sure for this one because, had the 5 furlong effort at Del Mar where second to Shea Brennan, who was a nice debut winner for, I believe, Phil D'Amato. So has some efforts that he can certainly, kind of go back to. And you mentioned 7 runs as a 2-year-old is a lot, but clearly he's still doing well. And out of that last effort, maybe it was just the light bulb angle for this runner.
Yeah, no, I think that's probably pretty logical. We'll go ahead and move on to the last race, and we'll save the Futurity for our last race. But in race 7, I'm going 3-4. Ryan's going 9-3, and Shane is going 8-2. I'll go ahead and throw up race 9 as we get that up on the screen here. Here's the Equibase. Race 9, maiden claiming 20,000. So we don't get away from the maidens except for the feature. Got a big field of 10 and 1 also eligible. I must add the 11 Notch. So make sure you check for scratches and changes to see if he gets in from the far outside. But again, field of 11, 3-year-olds and up, going 1 mile on the dirt course. I'll go ahead and bring the picks up on the screen. I'm going 7-5. Ryan's going 1-6, and Shane's going 5-4. So 5 different horses between 6 different picks. A lot of different ways you can go, at least from our vantage point. Shane, you're going with the 5 Battle Cruiser for Lescano and Sadler, who actually just ran here at Los Al last weekend.
Yeah, it's going to be what, a 8-day turnaround. Yeah, 8-day turnaround for Battle Cruiser. This was a race where I was really trying to figure out where the tote board's going to go, because to me, this race was ripe for a bomb. Now, funny enough, I picked Battle Cruiser, who will probably not be a bomb. I just don't know. I could see. I like him. I think he's logical just because you go back to his mile races earlier this year and you have some decent efforts. Mind you, he got beat 18 lengths in a straight maiden in July, but the restricted maiden back in on May 11th lost to Precision Strike, who was a Doug O'Neill runner, I believe, and won an allowance race. I think he won a first condition. I could be wrong, but he's at the first condition level, allowance level. So ran second behind Precision Strike, and those restricted maiden races can get kind of tough. They're classy races, and got a 72 buyer. So since then, obviously, has not been as good. But to me, I'm going to try to chalk that up to just to not take to the sprint distance much. So you also get second off kind of a short layoff. He was off a couple months there between August and December. So for me, you get to the lowest level. He's running for 20,000. Ronas and John Sadler, they're not afraid to drop and try to get a win or maybe lose the horse. They paid $300,000 for the horse, so which to me, a lot of times I feel like that's scary for a horse player to pick a horse in a maiden 20 that sold for $300,000. But I kind of see this with Ronas quite a bit. They're not scared to kind of drop horses and get a win, get some confidence back in them. Or if they lose them, it is what it is. They're not scared to lose that sunk cost from the sale. So that doesn't scare me too much. He's at the bottom of the barrel now, but he, like I said, he showed life going a mile. If he runs back to that race, I think he clears this bunch easy. And I think to me, he's the most logical.
Yeah, I think you make a lot of great points. I agree with pretty much everything you said, and I've got him in the mix. One of the reasons what you mentioned and what Jackson brings up, our good friend Jackson Muniz, the co-host on Get Bucked, and the master of Turfway Park. And Brian, what else did he say that I think he was claiming Del Mar. I don't know if that's necessarily true.
He tried to claim Del Mar in New York, basically every racetrack that runs in North America, which is ironic because he had a total of about 3 bets from October 1st through last week. But now he's a tournament winner. He was tournament placed today, so he's back on fire. So we love to see it.
Now he's the king of Twin Spires. Maybe we should maybe we should call him that. But yeah, no, Shane, thinking similarly. First reason was getting back to the mile, and then the second reason you mentioned it. It was the first race off a short break, and I think Sadler's wanted to get him back on the track. So I don't think the fact that he runs him back quick and for this low, I think he's just kind of putting him right where he belongs. And also, last thing to mention, why I did like him, Ryan, we talked about this last time on the show. The rail here at Los Al is not great. And he got the rail last time. He was the 8-5 favorite and didn't really do much running. But I am just going to excuse that effort a little bit, and I'm going to come back with him at least in the mix one more time. Ryan, you don't actually have him. I can't remember. Did you have him last time in the show that we covered last weekend?
Battle Cruiser, I don't believe so.
So why don't you give us some reasoning why you don't have him again? While the 1 to 7 day turnaround is one that I don't hate by any means, as that is what led me to my pick of the number 1. I just didn't like Battle Cruiser in this spot. I don't know, mainly just because I liked others better would be the simple reason. I know obviously Sadler knows what he's doing when he puts horses in for a tag. Typically they're pretty, lethal, but my kind of rule is when he puts them in for a tag 1 or 2 times and he still doesn't get the job done. He was favored last time out. Maybe the horse just isn't really meant for it. So I get stretching out. That's going to give this one a really good shot out of Catalina Cruiser and out of a Giants Causeway mare that should definitely love the 2 turns better than the 6 furlongs this one got last week. But the horse I'm really interested in is my top pick. That's the number 1, Big Gain. Ayuso aboard for Peter Miller. Coming back off of a 7-day rest after losing to a Doug O'Neill trained horse, Mining District, who that day was coming off of 7-day rest. So this one taking another big drop down the class ladder from state bred 50,000 down into bottom level of open maiden 20s. This one has some races to go back to. That last race, nothing to
go crazy over. But I did like how this horse was able to just kind of finish up a little bit. Obviously, 13 lengths out of it as Mining District and I believe it's Majestic Palisades were just pulling away from the rest of the field. They hooked up around the far turn, and the race was over there. It was just who was going to win between the two. That stretch goes on forever at Los Al. The rail, for historically being not really the place to be, it did not play horribly last week. And Mining District actually came back on the rail to win that race, or rather on the inside. He wasn't really on the rail. But I'm going to take Big Gain here. Hopefully this one can just get a little more forward. I don't want to see this one 10 lengths out of it or 6 lengths out of it as they're, on the back stretch. I think he's got a little bit more speed to show there. So obviously California bred, even though it says, the breeder was in Kentucky, but Adam Mr. Big. So should be fine in this spot. I like coming back off the 7-day rest where Peter Miller's 43% from 7 starters with a 780 ROI.
Yeah, no, it's you make a good point about coming back quick. Pretty decent at that. I think this isn't even the only horse that he's had that he's done that. He is 0 for 9 at Los Al, but you can see his horses are firing okay. And then Ayuso 4 for 8, so he's got the hot hand right now. I had the same thought here with Big Gain as we did with the Sadler horse, where I don't think I had him last time, so it doesn't really make sense for me to like him this time, just because the effort was fine. But in the sense he's got races to go back to, like the debut and the second career start. Granted, that was for John Sadler, but he's kind of got that in his resume and within his reach, so maybe he can get back to that. Shane, this is a question that I just kind of thought up on the spot, just because Miller is bringing this horse back pretty quick. It seems like Doug likes to do that every now and then, but do you know if there's something that, within his training system, something that clicks that makes him do that? Is there some kind of indication that kind of what's the word that I'm looking for? Just kind of not inspires, but makes him come back that quickly.
Yeah, no, that's a great observation, because Doug, especially, it seems less so this year for some reason, but last year for sure, Doug had a lot of quick turnarounds, and probably even this year too. I can't remember one recently. For Doug, at least when I'm there and it's talked about, it's really just a factor of what does the condition book look like, which is when trainers and agents are entering in races in Southern California. Obviously right now it's tough to get races to fill. I mean, Los Al had to push Friday back a day just because they're trying to get better field sizes. And so for trainers especially, if you have a horse who's sound, which, every horse that's racing nowadays is sound, and if they're not sound, they have so many precautions in place, thank God, to make sure that we have sound horses racing. So most of these race horses are built so that they can run more than they're running, and a lot of times in Southern California, a horse that is off for 2 months maybe is only off because there's no race they can run in. There's no race that fits there, especially when you move higher up the levels. It gets harder. At the low levels, though, even then, Doug's just trying to find spots that the horse can be competitive in. So, I would bet you what happened with Pete Miller here is they ran third last week and said, hey, when's the next time we're going to be able to run in a state bred maiden 50? Well, maybe it's not till the middle of January. I haven't checked the Santa Anita book, but it might be a month and a half till the next maiden 50. So state bred maiden 50. So they say, hey, there's a maiden 20, probably around the same difficulty level. In my opinion, that's kind of how I see the class system work. And so they say, we're not scared of losing the horse for 20. Let's try and run him right back. He's healthy. He's doing well. The mile is kind of crazy. I will say, run mile to mile in a week. That takes a lot out of a horse. So, and that's something, the handicap, you got to take into account.
Yeah, no, you make a good point about that, because I've always thought how that process goes down is just whether or not the race prior, like you said, if it takes it out of them. And a lot of times when you do see a horse that comes back quickly, it's a mile to 7 furlongs, mile to 6.5, mile to 6, yada yada. But the cutback in distance normally is what kind of allows them to come back so quickly. But you make great points about that. I'm glad I asked that question. We'll actually go back to you to talk more about this finale on Saturday. I believe the 4 Scorpion Shot, who you have in second. This is a 3-year-old gelding for the Jeff Mullins bar.
Yeah, Scorpion Shot. This horse coming off right around a 6-month layoff. July to November. What is that? I believe 4 months? Come on, Shane, do math.
Math's not our
1
thing.
7? Yeah, 4 months or so. 4.5 months. So anyways, but Scorpion Shot coming off a decent layoff, going right back into a mile, which I don't love. I like to see them get a sprint first to come into it, but does get the weight break with Carmona on for Mullins. Jeff Mullins has had a very good year. He's got that stakes horse on that 2-year-old horse on the grass, something with an A, I think that's been doing pretty good.
Is it Artisless?
Artisless.
Thank you. Yes. So he's been having a very good year. I think he even had one day at Del Mar. He won 3 or 4 in a day. So you got a trainer who's having a really good year, a horse that last time out got beat a distance for 20 for this level. But you got to think a Del Mar maiden 20 is tougher than a Los Alamitos maiden 20 first off, and it was a full field of 10. So I haven't looked deep in the race. I know JB Strikes Back is an O'Neill trainee and is got claimed, and then we claimed back. So I think is still in the barn right now. And he won that race. Lost to Triple Pass, who won, I think, a maiden claimer last out, and then hasn't done much since. So don't know how tough that race was really, but finished up okay. Only got I guess a little wide into the stretch. I haven't watched the replay, but just based on the comment, 4 wide, maybe was wide throughout. Honestly, haven't watched it though. Scares me. Not much to go back up before that race. Didn't really like before that, losing by 9 and then losing by 11, and both times got bet decently. So I'm just kind of taking a shot underneath that I think this horse maybe a lot of times off the layoffs they change things and they come back better. So I'm going to hope that this gelding comes back a little fired up off the break.
Yeah, no, you make a great point about the race because that's what I consider this horse to throw in the mix here. And the last race is what I was kind of keen in on just because, like you said, I think that race was a little tougher than maybe it looks on paper. JB Strikes Back for the barn of your uncle, I believe, was dropping, if I remember correctly, was dropping from maiden special weight to maiden claiming that day. So it was a little classy for the group. And then Triple Pass, like you said, came back and won, but maybe hasn't done much after that. But I thought that was a pretty decent group and definitely one to consider, especially with the weight break. I know Carmano's 0 for 13, but he kind of proved that he can ride with a bunch at Del Mar. So he's one that you got to watch out and got to be careful of, especially because he gets those 5 pounds, even though he's 37, 38 years old, Ryan.
Yeah, I believe he is a 36-year-old apprentice jockey. So he's up there, but hey, the guy can ride. So yeah, it doesn't matter what age. It's never too late to try.
Yeah, it's definitely not. We'll go to the horse that you have in second. Is this the horse you have in second, Ryan? Caught in the Dark?
Yeah, Caught in the Dark.
Okay.
I know the sorry.
Coming off the 2-buyer, let's hear it.
Yeah, coming off the 2-buyer effort, obviously just did not lift a hoof. Just kind of went around there and had a good time, I hope. So gets another effort here, gets another shot at it, gets to go 2 turns. Obviously ran closing weekend at Del Mar in that maiden 20 effort. Ran behind Mining District, who came right back to win at the 2-turn effort. But yeah, I don't know. This one just clearly didn't enjoy it. Daddy Justify was a pretty well-meant horse that day from the looks of things. Just kind of sat the perfect trip, and that was all she really wrote. But coming off the 2-buyer effort, I mean, whatever this horse runs here has got to be better. I know this horse has gotten beaten just about a billion lengths in all of this horse's races up to this point, all 5 of those. However, I just think maybe getting to a different track in Los Al where the stretch is real long, maybe just, I don't know. It's a maiden 20, so these horses could surprise you. I know this horse hasn't lifted a step, but Shane was talking briefly at the beginning where this could be one where there's just a bomb that wins the race. And I think Caught in the Dark maybe it's going to catch a lot of people sleeping or catch a lot of people in the dark, if you will. And maybe this one has a surprise up his sleeve.
I sure hope. I want to get your reaction to what it says at the bottom of his PPs. Can you see that analysis right there?
No. Hold on, let me see here. No, that's a tough comment line. I've never seen them put up comment lines for a maiden 20,000, but that's got to be That's got to be the most abrupt one I've ever seen. Yeah, never seen that one before, as Matt Miller said in our comment section. That's
Ryan,
yes.
Ryan, his beaten lengths are higher than my IQ. If you sum them together, I think it's over. It's over 100. I mean,
it is.
I look, Ryan. If this horse wins, I lose. But like I said, you're right. I did say this race is ripe for a bomb. I'll have to eat a hat or two though if this is the bomb that hits. But
yeah,
there's a reason to run races.
This would be just a long shot of long shots, but I did pick this horse underneath. I wasn't crazy enough to pick this horse on top. I do like the one primarily, and if I was going in horizontals, I'll probably go more than 2 deep if I were to play this pick 4 ticket. However, I do want to use the number 6 Caught in the Dark a little bit underneath here. I want to throw him in some spots underneath. Maybe he can surprise. There's a good shot that he is the longest shot in the field. So I just want to try and take advantage of it in a race that, this not a whole lot of horses have done a whole lot of running. Maybe this one just catches everybody sleeping, catches everybody by surprise, does something, whether he gets sent hard to the lead and just maybe gets brave or something. I'm not entirely sure how this one could win or could finish up in the try, but I think this one's got a shot, and it's hard to do worse than that 2-buyer. So only up from here.
Shane, I think I'm throwing out a wanted ad, maybe for a new co-host. You know, the mic was super loud to start the show. He's got this horse somehow in the mix, but I would love to get an application from you if you got the time. But anyway, let's move on to the horse that I actually have on top, the number 7 Aero Max. This is Pereira and Knapp again. We talked about that combo earlier in the show. This is a horse that I think the form's dirtied up a little bit. I thought he was pretty well regarded early on in his career. He was claimed from Glatt 2 back, and then ran last time with the blinkers, was maybe a little bit closer to the pace. I think maybe he is a little bit better from a little bit off of it. He was right there with Classically Mining District, who I think were two horses that were dropping in class. I think Shane Mining District, didn't he come back and win last weekend?
Yep, that's right.
Yeah, he won last weekend, and then Classically was a horse for D'Amato that was in maiden special weight and dropped. So I mean, he even though he was 18-1, he was right there with 2 horses that I think are definitely classier than some of these in here. Go back to the race 3 back from coming off of it. I thought that was one of his better efforts as the favorite. Came from kind of way out of it. I don't know if there's the speed to match that effort back on September 6th. But maybe with the blinkers off, he'll get himself to relax, find himself in a good spot. And I like the word tack going in. So I think he's one you got to consider. We have talked about 5 horses. Ryan, Shane, any other horses that we want to mention before we move on to the feature?
Well, yeah, sure. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Not all at once.
All right, I'll go first. Back to Aero Max, actually. So same horse. I do think that maiden 20 last time at Del Mar, I had that written down in my notes as it being a tougher race. So I mean, ignoring the buyer, I thought that was a tougher race. And like, I don't know, 22-1, 46-2 is smoking for maiden 20s. Try to keep that up. Mind you, I think they came home in what is that like 27-1 they came home in. So they weren't exactly flying home either. But I definitely think this is illogical, and I think that you either need this horse in your ticket or you're going to take a stand if you play against. I see this horse as one of the favorites, 3-1 or so. Definitely has races to run back to. So no, I think that's probably a very logical pick.
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever heard Ryan say that one of my picks was logical. So you're you're going up on the road now. Ryan, I don't even know if I should ask you to comment on this horse, but just go ahead.
On Aero Max, sure. And then I wanted to briefly touch on the number 2, the Little Red Feather Runner. But yeah, Aero Max is interesting. I like the jockey change to Tiago, as we talked about how lethal of a combo they are. You got to love how the Aero Gates have been running. Shane brought up a great point. That last effort was a little bit tougher, maybe like the kind of field level that he was facing. So gets in here, blinkers off. I know Knapp is 0 for 14 with this move, but maybe 15th time is the charm for that. But yeah, those are just my minor notes, because I do think Aero Max is a threat on this ticket for sure. And what I clearly view as a wide open race, because I picked has to be a 30-1 morning line shot in second. But another horse was the number 2 if we're sticking with this last little get out race. But Marty's Fish, trained by Phil D'Amato, had 2 runs on turf where this one really didn't lift a hoof. Comes off an 11 buyer effort, so 9 better than my second choice, so that's improvement. But I like the sprint effort on debut. Obviously, D'Amato doesn't have him cranked up. This one lost to Maymoon, to Soto, who came back to win their next out, McVeigh, who's turned into a nice horse as he's gotten older. That was back in January of this year. So this one was just a young 3-year-old. Later on in the season now, I just don't think this one wants turf off those 2 efforts. It's not often you see D'Amato get a horse on turf, and this one, and they don't run well, but this one clearly doesn't love it there. So I know the 55 buyer on dirt isn't crazy, but that was maiden special weight. We're going maiden 20. He's getting 2 turns. Flatter should handle that no problem. This one costs $190,000, so there's clearly some form of expectation for this horse. It seems like they're maybe not giving up as much as dropping this one down to where he belongs at this point in time. So gets in here. Again, just going to take another stab. Maybe this one just kind of wakes up facing some friends here.
Yeah, I think he certainly won just off the drop alone. I know last time he didn't really run a step, but some of these horses have just been running in fields that are meh. And he's been facing some quality, so maybe just the class relief alone can switch things around. Shane, I'm going to ask you 2 questions before we move on to the feature. And Ryan, I actually will let you ask both because last time I told you I was going to let you ask Florida Thunder. So go ahead.
Yeah, Shane, are you interested in getting into your uncle's business? Obviously training horses after you graduate and after you kind of go on with everything.
See, that's a very tricky question, and it's a topic of much debate in the O'Neill household. My parents will say no chance, despite the fact that my parents met at Hollywood Park. My mom was a mutual teller at Hollywood Park. My dad was assisting Doug at the time and also a gambler at Hollywood Park and would frequently bet at her window, and that's how they met. So I'm a product of the racetrack, but I guess my parents say it's a little too risky of a business to get into. So like I said, I'll probably right now the plan is to go into some sort of finance accounting role for me after college. Sort of getting a job lined up here right now for upon graduation. I love horse racing. It is the most and like was mentioned in the chat, I forgot who said it, but there's so many promising avenues in horse racing right now. Like they mentioned, fatalities at an all-time low since they were ever tracked ever. I mean, it's just so great how we're making advances on some fronts. Other fronts, obviously, we need to do a lot better work. Taking care of the horse player, need to do a lot better work. And thankfully, horsemen like Doug are getting more cognizant of that the old ways of the 90s, the 80s of just high takeout and just, you'll always have the gambler. You can take advantage of them. Thankfully, I hope we're slowly moving away from that and knowing that we need the customer, especially in California, if you want to have any sort of business. So anyways, that's my long-winded answer of saying that there's a lot of promise in the sport, and I would love to get into it. It's just got to line up. For now, the answer is no. And if my dad's watching, he'll definitely say, you better not say yes to that question. But I'll be involved in the sport for my whole life in some way, just maybe not as a trainer. But look, if a few years down the line I got a stable, I wouldn't be too surprised.
Oh, I like it.
Yeah, me too. I look forward to betting Shane O'Neill stables or whatever it ends up being.
Yeah, no, I can attest to that, Shane. When I was 3 feet tall and just a little infant, my mom was not the biggest fan of me going to Los Alamitos with my dad. So I'm sure my mom's probably watching this, but yeah. But before we move on, we'll ask one more question. What was your best moment? And you can't pick the Derby because that's too easy. Best moment ever had at the track and worst moment.
Oh, that's a good question. Is this for me or for Ryan?
This is for you.
For you.
Oh, for me. Okay. Well, I would say one of my favorite trips was, funny enough, we didn't even have a horse running, was Saratoga. I went for the Belmont earlier this year at Saratoga. That was one of the most exciting experiences I've ever had at a racetrack. Just seeing the apron when they were loading into the gate was one of the coolest things I've ever experienced. Outside of that, though, for a Doug O'Neill trip, I have to say, Hot Rod Charlie in the Belmont was a lot of fun when he ran second to Essential Quality. I got to be there for that, and which I think he ran the fastest half mile of the race. Hot Rod Charlie did. So that was one of my favorite moments. And then trying to think if there's anything else crazy that's happened. I guess worst. Well, let me think of worst moment. Worst moment at the track. Well, I'm a gambler at heart. I might be a $10 or $20 win better, but I'm a gambler at heart. And one of my worst moments at the track was a misclick on a machine that cost me $1,000. To some players might actually not be a dime, really, but to me that was my handle for a few months probably. So a misclick at the window. It was the Golden Gate. I'll never forget the race. It was like the San Francisco Mile, either last year or 2022. I think it was 2022. And I mishit a trifecta bet. And, it happens to all of us. But that was one of the worst moments. And then I guess the other worst moment that I do remember, not at the track, was 2012 when I'll have another scratched out of the Belmont. That was just about as obviously we're in such a fortunate position just to be there, but that was just about as sad a moment you can get. I'll never forget. I'm pretty sure it was Friday morning. It was either Friday or Saturday morning. And me and my mom and dad are in the hotel room in New York, in Manhattan. And my dad answers the phone and gets the call that they had, I think they brought in some sort of X-ray machine or something into the detention barn, which you weren't supposed to even do, but they really wanted to see what was going on. So they brought an X-ray thing into the detention barn that I'll have another was in, and came back with the tendon issue. And so Saturday AM, thank you. And they scratched him. My dad immediately flew home. He was obviously very, very sad. My dad bought I'll have another for $37,000 at auction as a 2-year-old. So very sad day.
Yeah, that's something I wouldn't wish upon my my worst of enemies, especially in such a big race like that. But that's quite a shame. But obviously, you get your ups, your downs. I think everyone's misclicked a ticket. I know my dad has done it several times, which is why I make a lot of his bets for him. Ryan knows my dad. He's a character. So, Ryan, do you got anything to share? Why don't we let's just go ahead and talk about the bad parts of horse racing that we've all experienced.
Yeah, sure. I mean, everybody's misclicked the ticket, right? It's one of the worst feelings when you are just so sure about something and then you accidentally misclick a ticket. And I think we've also all been in the position where maybe we've misclicked the ticket and then we cancel thinking like we're doing the right thing. We'll go play the right one, and then the misclick ticket hits. So there's really no winning at the end of the day. And if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. So obviously there's that. And I got to be honest, I obviously I'm mainly a gambler here, but as far as bad days at the track, I don't think I've really had one. I mean, sure, I've left the track and not won money. That happens to everybody, but being at the track, it's just always so much fun. Especially now this summer, seeing all the people that I've been able to meet this summer through the internship at Del Mar. Shane obviously being one of them, and then Noah, you being another. Your dad just randomly coming up to me and introducing himself was pretty hilarious out of nowhere. So no bad days, no bad memories at the track. But I would imagine if I owned a horse and I was getting him to the starting gate and there was a late scratch or something, that'd be beyond gut wrenching, because I know how much work and preparation and time goes into that. So that's probably the main reason I haven't had a bad day at the track.
Yeah, if you guys are here listening or on audio or on YouTube, make sure you don't go anywhere. You're probably wondering, why do these schmucks just keep talking about betting and sad stuff? But we are waiting for Mr. Doug O'Neill to come on. He was, I believe, scheduled to come on right about now, so hopefully we can get him in within the next minute or so. Howard says, don't go anywhere, people, of course. Matt Miller says, next time let's ask sad and then happy in that order. Probably a good point. But yeah, as we wait for Doug to hopefully come on, Shane, do you have any updates for us for Doug?
No, I know that he did land, so and he's just going to hop on audio for us any second he can here. So, but yeah, I know I saw mention in the chat that someone mentioned, Raging Torrent to the Malibu, which is the plan. So we're excited that take on Mystic Dan, and I think there's a couple other horses from out of state coming in. So that'll be fun for sure. And I know the La Brea is going to come up really big too, like a lot of big names. So opening day at San Diego will be a lot of fun, that's for sure.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I guess while we wait for your uncle, we can get your thoughts about Rank, who is running in the Los Alamitos Futurity. We don't know what price will be, but just because he is a maiden, hasn't gotten into the winner circle yet, should be a bit of a decent price. So just give us your overall thoughts about Rank, kind of what you know about how he's doing.
Yeah, well, I think I told Ryan this earlier the year. From early on, Doug identified Rank, and he'll probably say this, as one of the best colts in his stable. Now, mind you, it hasn't panned out I think I mentioned this before on the Breeders' Cup show that I was on with Ryan, actually, and that is that a lot of times in Southern California, where it gets stuck in the Bob Baffert philosophy, if they don't win first time out, they're no good. And that's just not how horse racing works for most horses. A lot of them have to mature, they have to come around, they have to grow. And a lot of times when a trainer or ownership team, when they identify early on that they have a horse that has talent, a lot of times it takes time for that talent to come out. So Rank's one that really is just getting better and better, and I think has a lot of a bright future in front of him. So I know that last time out lost at 7-5 or 8-5 or so to Journalism, who also in the race. But Rank is doing well. He's been working well, and definitely excited to. It's only a 5-horse field. We only got to beat 4 of them. So you know what? It's exciting.
Yeah, I actually was just going to ask this question, but Howard beat me to the punch. Do you think his style or his preferred style is coming from a little bit off of it, which he's done in some of his earlier career starts, or do you think he's better getting closer to the lead, which is what Fraser did with him last time?
Yeah, I think he's very versatile, and we're very lucky with Fraser in that he is a jockey that is so intelligent. In my opinion, he's the most intelligent jockey that we have in the colony right now, as far as race IQ goes. And so I would hope that if he sees like last time when he was on a 22 flat, if we get cut up in that pace, we don't have a chance to hang on, right? And he hung on pretty well, considering only got beat 2.5 lengths going that pace last time. But I think. Personally, I think his horse has always been more effective as a closer, but I think he'll have to do that on Saturday, just because the Bob Baffert contingent. They're going to try to set up a 1-2-3, or they're going to try to set up the race exactly how they want it. So I see him as a closer, but so far he's shown versatility. And honestly, you could argue his last race was his best one, and it shouldn't have been considering the pace.
Yeah, no, I think you make a lot of great points. We've got our guest in the green room here. Doug, give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. Doug, can you hear me? Doug, it looks like you are on the plane, and it looks like you are ready to get off. Is it all right if I bring you on? All right, it looks like he's maybe struggling with his audio a little bit, but we can maybe try and get him on. It looks like he's maybe messing with some AirPods. Doug, can you hear me? It looks like there's a woman next to Doug. Shane, do you know who that is?
Yeah, that's Julie, I think. Yeah.
Really? It looks like she's trying to help him out, but he can't quite get it to work.
Well,
I called earlier today. I complimented Doug and called him a tech. So he's disappointing me with his text.
Yeah. Ryan, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say, while we're on the subject of Rank and while we get all the technical side of things figured out, obviously, Shane, from Del Mar Futurity Day, myself and my Get Buck co-host Jackson Muniz, very high on Rank. Moving forward into his 3-year-old year, this horse is bred to run today, tomorrow, and into next week. So we're excited to see this horse hopefully keep progressing, keep staying healthy, and we're looking forward to a Santa Anita Derby start where Jackson and I will be in attendance and hopefully down in the winner's circle afterward with you and the.
I told you better be in the winner's circle. I think you're his biggest fans.
Oh yeah,
Shane, you gonna make that happen?
What did you say, sorry?
I said you're going to make that happen if he makes his way in the winner's circle?
If Rank wins the San Anita Derby, I don't think security could keep Ryan out of the winner's circle, and especially Jackson actually. But
yeah, Jackson will like lower his shoulder, and I'll just be following him in his path because he pointed that one out first, and yeah, we're needless to say, we're all very excited about the prospects of Rank because aside from being a Team O'Neill fan, he just has always looked so great going out onto the track, and clearly has run time and again, and I think his time is coming to get to the winner's circle. He's still getting better with every start. He's shown that versatility that you mentioned, and having a smart guy like Fresu aboard is just only going to help him moving forward because he'll be in the right spot when it matters.
Yeah, it looks like Doug has maybe figured things out in the background. I'll try and go ahead and bring him on just to see if he's able to do it. Doug, can you hear us? Doug, you there? It looked like he was starting to figure things out.
Oh,
it's
I love how his banner says trainer for Shane O'Neill.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Maybe I can send him a little message. Let me do that real quick. Got some comments. Howard brings up a comment. I did see the DRF article. He said that rank is better than average, which I think he's maybe pointing to something there. It looks like we got Doug. Doug, can you hear us?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh my God, this stuff is so easy. This is incredible. Woo.
Shane was just telling us about how much you've improved with technology lately.
It's unbelievable. I this whole cell phone thing, I'm all over it. And, I'll be working in an Apple store in no time. And you guys look great. What a great looking crew. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for coming on.
Yeah.
Appreciate you doing it. I know it looks like you've been scrambling, getting off of the plane. So we won't take up too much of your time.
Are they earpods or AirPods?
AirPods.
Air, not ear. They should be earpods, or it should be. But anyway, yeah, my AirPods were definitely faulty. So we're gonna blame my AirPods. But now we're AirPodless and good to go. Can hear you guys great.
Awesome.
Sorry.
Awesome.
Yeah.
We'll go ahead and we'll try to ask you some stuff quickly, just because we know you're just coming off the plane and stuff.
Sure.
But Rank, obviously contender in the Los Alamitos Futurity coming up on Saturday. Just give us your overall thoughts of how he's doing coming in, how you think about his race last time, and how you think about his chances going up against 4 tough foes.
Yeah, it is. I know you got 3 Bob Bafferts, which is never an easy task. But, once we stretched him out to 2 turns, he really improved. And he's always been a horse that we thought had better than average talent. So I know he's still a maiden, but to us, he's run some races that would have very easily won his maiden. And so we're excited, and we know we're an outsider, but short field. And, he's not without a chance for sure.
Yeah, no, I definitely think he got a good one here. Looks like he just keeps getting better and better. So hopefully he kind of gets over the hump and figures it out. Ryan, you were just sharing some stuff on Rank. Any questions you have towards Doug?
Yeah, not on Rank, but thank you, Doug, for taking the time to, out of your busy schedule to join us. I did want to ask about a race coming up on opening day of Santa Anita's winter meet, the Grade 1 Malibu Stakes, where it looks like Raging Torrent is aiming to make his next start. Just wanted to check in, see how Raging Torrent's doing coming off of his last effort and coming into this one.
Thanks, Ryan. Yeah, Raging Torrent's doing really well, and so excited to get him back to 1 turn. It does seem like 7/8 of a mile is just a perfect distance for him, and he did 1 turn last race, but 6 furlongs against the best horse in the world from the rail is just not his cup of tea. We've got an Italian jockey on him again, opening day in the Malibu, but it's not Fresu. It's Fresu's mentor, Frankie Dettori. So we're excited. We're bummed to lose Antonio, but he was committed to Stronghold. So as we looked at the potential other riders, Frankie was open, and super excited to have him on. And but no, Raging Torrent's doing really well. We're excited. We think the distance and 3-year-olds only is going to really work in his favor.
Absolutely, and that Raging Torrent clearly has a ton of heart, because all I can think about is the race over the summer at Del Mar where he looked Chosen Braun in the eye and managed to fight back and win, and that is not something that the Chosen Braun gives into very often. So seeing that Raging Torrent was able to do that after being kind of shipped from Churchill Downs and having a nice campaign this year was really cool to see.
I agree. No, we're so proud of him. Mr. Mark Davis owns him. He's kind of new to the sport, and he's so grateful. We're all just so grateful to be working alongside the Raging Torrent, and looking forward to a huge opening day there at San Anita.
Yeah, no, we'll go back to rank real quick. Sorry, we're jumping around a little bit.
No problem.
Our boss, Howard Kravitz.
You sure it's AirPod, not EarPod?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Okay, just double check. All right, cool. Sorry, Noah.
He wants to get a little bit of insight of the what you look for in the trip come Saturday. Are going to be a little bit closer, and tell Frace to be a little more involved like it was last time, or maybe tell him to take back.
With rank, having Antonio on him is huge, and I really truly I wonder if Bob is going to really run all three. I know it was late in the morning, early in the afternoon before they drew, and they only had 4, so I'm pretty sure he threw in another one to make it 5. So it wouldn't shock me if one of his comes out. I don't know which one. I think maybe the Kimura horse would be my guess, may not run, but I think rank will obviously be forwardly placed. Antonio has worked him a bunch. He knows him, and so yeah. And Antonio's ridden Los Al, which is such a unique track, and the oval is unique, so he knows where to be. And again, on numbers, we need to really pick it up, but we got the experience, and so long answer to your question, but I think forwardly placed for sure.
Okay, I like it.
Yeah.
I've got a question. It's a little more about the upcoming months and the Derby Trail. I see you entered Dr. Ruben M in the Springboard Mile on Remington or at Remington on Friday night, and then you've got rank here. Now that Baffert's able to get points for the Kentucky Derby, has been reinstated in Churchill Downs. How does that play into you trying to find spots to maybe get some points and get in the starting gate for Saturday in May?
It's very upsetting, to be honest with you. I was wishing he'd be banned for another couple of years. Would be good for all of us. No, obviously having him in the mix makes everything, it's like going against LeBron James every night if you're, a basketball analogy, whatever. But, I truly believe a lot of horses from the West Coast do well in the Triple Crown races, not because we're better trainers or better horses or better owners or anything. It's all, I think, just the beauty of Southern California weather. We're able to train day in, day out. And I think a horse just gets so much more seasoning and exercise than a lot of horses that Mother Nature maybe, wreaks havoc on a little bit. So, our rank and Dr. Ruben M in the category of probably Bob Baffert's top 10. I don't know. I don't know about that, but I do know anytime we've been lucky in the past that if you get a nice 2-year-old that can 2-turn and you pick your spots, you can do pretty well with them. So that's our thought with Dr. Ruben M, the Remington, or the what the heck's the name?
Springboard Mile.
Yeah, there we go. Thank you. I always want to say the Remington Derby, but that Springboard Mile, I think it's timing wise is perfect. He's really fresh. He's training well. Edwin knows him really well. So tough race, but we're 6-1 morning line, so we got some respect from the morning line odds maker, and he's there as we speak. He's settled in, and they're running at night, but the distance won't be a problem. So. Leading into Kentucky, rank and Dr. Ruben M, are they good enough to be there at the first Saturday in May? Don't know, but hopefully Friday night, Dr. Ruben M puts up a big race and we can say yes.
Yeah. I'll bring up another comment from one of our avid listeners, Mr. Matt Miller. He said a late friend of mine by the name of Doug Deems described you as one of the kindest, most generous and hospitable people he knew. hoping to introduce you guys one day, and seems like you made quite the impression. On us with the AirPod debacle. That's for sure. Ryan, any other questions that you have, or any other horses that you want to ask about before?
Yeah, definitely. And thank you again, Doug, for your time tonight. So this is one of the more kind of underrated horses, but he's won 3 derbies, and I'm talking about EJ Won the Cup. Well-traveled horse. He's gone all over the place. Recently ran a very nice second in the Oklahoma Derby out at Remington Park. I know he's kind of, on that maybe second tier, but he's clearly a hard-trying horse who loves the winner's circle. Just kind of wanted to see what the plans were for him moving forward. I'd love to see him back out on the West Coast.
Yeah, no, it's real exciting. And now this is a unique deal because he was sold in an online, a Fazek Tipton online sale. It's a group of guys led by Gary Margolis and Ernie Markowski. It's like 10 or 11 guys, just great group. And they were just looking to kind of dissolve this partnership a little bit, and sold him to a prince from Saudi Arabia. Emmanuel Desiro is his agent, so I'm dealing a lot with Emmanuel. They were kind enough to let us continue on training him, and we're pointing him to a race towards the end of January in Saudi. It's a prep for the Saudi World Cup. Is that what it's called? The big one, 20 million, big money.
Yeah.
And yeah. So, but he's doing well. Part of shipping a horse to Saudi, they got to be in a quarantine environment for 30 days. So he's down right now at OBS Training Center, where they have the sales down there. They got a quarantine set up. So actually, I just got back from there. I was there for a couple of days. EJ's doing well. He actually worked 112 and change the other day down there. But no, cool horse, and kind of like, honest to God, I think Dr. Ruben M's a little bit like EJ Won the Cup. EJ was always a tick or two below the best, but now, he's still 3. He's just getting better and better, and we're looking forward to him having a big 4-year-old campaign, and hopefully the new connections let me stay on board for the whole rest of the run.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for that answer. I hope to see him out in Saudi. Hope he, handles the prep well and the trip and everything like that. And then we get to see him on Saudi Cup Day. That'd be huge.
You guys are welcome. If we get there, you guys, I'll tell the prince. I'll say, I got my boy. I got to have my boys there. You guys can broadcast right from their Saudi track. It'd be great. Good for.
There we go. I'll bring you some working AirPods. So we'll make sure it's all.
There we go.
All on the level.
Yeah. We'll ask them. I bet you a lot of the Saudis think it's earpods. I bet you they're like, yeah. So we'll ask a good question, but no, it's real exciting, and I think it's January 25th or 26th. So looking forward to that.
Awesome. Cool. One more question, and then we'll let you go. This is the $1 million question. What do you see in the future for Southern California racing?
Is Belinda on this podcast? Because I'm a big fan if she is. Belinda, I love you. But she's not. We're pretty sure. It's one of those where the Stronach family has done a lot for racing. They've invested their money, but I see just younger ownership, not to say she's older, but I just see new ownership coming in one day. That's not that I'm a big religious guy, but my nightly prayers are, dear Lord, please bring some new ownership in and just try to really promote racing at Santa Anita. And I think sometimes when a successful family like the Stronachs have so many tracks all over the place, it's just human nature that you can't keep your eye on any one place specifically. So I'd love to see a single group that just were zeroed in on Santa Anita and Southern California. And I really think with the population we have, with the history of beautiful Santa Anita, that we truly could make Santa Anita great again. Not to do a Trump thing, whatever. Meagher, make Arcadia great again, would be cool. But no, I really think we're gonna get it back going, and let us pray.
Yep. I love that. Awesome. Speaking of new owners, it sounds like your nephew over to the right is maybe gonna get into that. Maybe that's a little bit of influence from your doing.
Shane's the best, and I'm not saying it just because he's here. But Shane, you look like with that white wall. I got a white wall too, but you look like it's like a mugshot.
County jail.
Yeah, county jail. It's like,
actually.
oh my
Thank
god,
you. Yeah,
are
thank
you
Doug.
sitting on
Thank you.
like you're sitting on the potty there at a county jail cell? But no, I'm so proud of Shane. So proud of our other nephew Patrick. All our nieces and nephews, but they're probably no one's listening to this other than Shane's here. So, but Shane and Patrick, Patrick's getting married to Brittany Urton. So we got some more racing coming in the family. If he doesn't screw that up, Patrick, don't screw that up. But no, it is great having you, Noah, and Ryan and Shane. I mean, you guys are really the future, right? So it can be a sport that a lot of people 35 or under don't appreciate the 25 minutes in between races. So it can be a sport that's challenging to get the younger people in. But you guys are examples that it's possible. And I think once people with some smarts and really dig into how amazing these horses are, and once they show their form, how formful they are, it's really like a Rubik's Cube or a crossword puzzle, every race day, and it's a great sport. So that was a long answer, but I'm hopeful make Arcadia great again.
No, I love that. I'm gonna start saying that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time, Doug.
Of course.
We appreciated all the answers that you've given. I know you've been on a plane for a while, so we'll let you go put your feet up, go pour yourself a drink.
Sounds good.
Hopefully we'll have you on this podcast again soon.
I would love it. Thanks for having me, you guys. Keep up the great work. We need you guys big time. You're helping save the game. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug.
Take care. You got it.
Thanks.
That was Mr. Doug O'Neill, ladies and gentlemen. Quite the man. He had quite some answers. I thought that was a pretty classic. Is that what you deal with on a daily basis, Shane?
I invite anyone to come up to the suite for a day at Santa Anita. Oh, it's just nonstop. It's the AirPod, and now you know what? He's going to use the AirPods joke for a while now. It's your guys' fault for doing this.
I love that. We'll go ahead and wrap up the show. Just quickly talking about the rest of the contenders in the Futurity. Obviously, you mentioned enough about rank. I'll go ahead and throw up our picks, as we do have picks. I'm going 2-1. Ryan's 5-4. Shane's 3-4. Shane, a little bit of a reminisce about a comment that was brought up last time. Going against your uncle here with the 3 getaway car, JJ and Baffert. Definitely very logical in this race.
Yeah. Getaway car to me is actually my top pick. I did rank 2 because I think actually rank logically has a very good chance. But getaway car to me was actually my top pick over gaming. Getaway car. First off, the Bears Cup Juvenile to me was a very weird race because besides that Hope Road horse, which I think was the English horse from Britain, no one was closing. Maybe Ferocious or something from the back. I forget, but I know Hill Road, was the only one really making up ground. So they kind of just ran around in a circle, really. And gaming, I think they just ran in a merry-go-round. Like, let's look at the chart. Yeah. Yeah. So really, Hill Road, and that's kind of it, right?
Well, he was up on it early, and then he was climbing and backed up, and then made a run late. But yeah, you make a good point.
Yeah. So to me, I think gaming ran better than looked. People are gonna. I think this, honestly, for a 5-horse field, this might be an interesting betting race, which is kind of that might be a dumb statement, but people I think will hammer gaming because you have Pratt coming in to ride. You have this whether you look at Ragazins, I would guess, or Buyers, he's moving every start. To me, I'm gonna bet getaway car with rank. That's my exacta box because I think getaway car was going to be underlooked. I guess people are going to ignore him, and gaming will take too much money, in my opinion. Yeah,
I do agree with the fact that I think he is going to be pretty low, and I would never bet gaming to win or anything. But you make some great points. It's funny, we've actually got all 5 horses covered in the picks that we've got. Ryan, we'll go to you. You've got Journalism on top, who ran fine. Just lost to Mellencamp on debut. Then stretched out to 2 turns. Was very professional. Rispoli's back aboard, which you mentioned earlier in the show. Rispoli is not. He's kind of taken Los Al off. So to hop on here, it's got to speak volumes, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And that maiden race he came out of, obviously Rank ran in there as well. That looks like a really promising maiden race. Brother Tony was in there. Obviously, Brother Tony ran in the Futurity as well. Obviously, Journalism the winner, and then Rank, who I'm sure we'll speak about again here in a second. But yeah, Rispoli comes aboard, so he obviously is going to take a day off of his vacation to come back to work and to ride a horse with a lot of promise. This one stretched out around 2 turns and just powered home under Ricky Gonzalez that day. So I'm looking forward to seeing this one run back. I think we haven't seen the top of this horse yet. And Shane mentioned the kind of fade angle on gaming, which I like. I don't think that this is going to be the race. He's going to fire his best shot. You see the 95 last out, but again, they all just ran around there. Citizen Bull got such a comfortable lead. Gaming just sat off his flank, and they just didn't press each other. They just went all the way around, just like I believe a merry-go-round is how it was put there. But Journalism won so convincingly last time out. I think this horse has the ability, well, clearly showed the ability to be able to rate and sit really comfortably and then just have a nice finishing kick. So I want to see what this horse has to offer. First time against winners. Obviously, McCarthy's been on fire towards the end of the Del Mar meet. He really just sent out winner after winner. And then comes in here, clearly a confident move to go from a maiden special weight win into graded stakes company, trying to get points for the Kentucky Derby. So off that huge auction price of $825,000, comes in here. Expectations are there. This horse handled 2 turns the first time. I'm looking for a step up here.
Yeah, no, I think there's a lot of things to like with Journalism here and even down the road. $825,000 purchased by Curlin out of an Uncle Momer, Don Alberto, Eclipse Thoroughbreds, just a lot of prominent stuff there, and then showed that improvement with the victory last time, which I thought was very professional. So definitely one to consider. We talked a little bit about Rank, talked a little bit about Getaway Car. I've actually got Mellencamp on top, and this might be one of the worst picks I've ever given out on my show, considering this might be the longest price on the board. But I wouldn't be surprised if Mellencamp just went to the lead. Kimura just sent out of there. He's quick. I think he should be fine with the 2 turns by constitution out of a Bayern mare named American Model. But I think in his 2 efforts, I thought in the sprint, he pretty much did the dirty work, and he was 2 1/4 lengths in front of Journalism. And then last time I thought he did the dirty work again, went 46-1 for the half. So, it wasn't all that slow, was pressed the entire time. The fact that he lost to the 2 Journalism and Rank, you'll get a better price. So I think the picks kind of sum it up. I think there's many different ways you can go. And I've got him in the mix. I'll throw it to you guys. Am I crazy for thinking Mellencamp can wire this field?
I mean, you saw my pick in the 9th race, so I'm in no position to speak. So no, why can't Mellencamp get the job done?
Shane, I think Gaming and Getaway Car are very talented. I'm not 100% sure that either of them want 2 turns. Do you have any thought about that?
Honestly, no, I kind of agree. I, in my opinion, the 2-year-old crop in Southern California, going to the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, I thought the 2-year-old crop in Southern California was one of the weakest in a couple of years. And then they run the Breeders' Cup Juvenile.
First, second, fourth.
Exactly. Second, fourth. So then I feel like an absolute idiot because I really have no clue, I guess. And I mean, looking at some of those horses back east, I thought they were going to run circles around us. But so I don't know what to make of it, honestly. I mean, it's hard to just say the Breeders' Cup Juvenile was really, with my logic, if I want to keep my opinion that the SoCal horses aren't as good this year, I have to just say the Breeders' Cup Juvenile was a fluke race, which is hard. It's kind of hard to say. So back to your question, is 1 turn better for the Bafferts? I would say yes for all of them, frankly. But I think I'm still biased from before the Breeders' Cup. And I'm just kind of gambling on the fact that, I don't know, something weird happened to Juvenile, merry-go-round track. I don't know. This is going to be a very interesting race. We may end up with more questions than answers, especially if Mellencamp wins. No one's going to have what the heck. No one's going to know what to think of the churro crop across the country this year.
Yeah, absolutely.
Go ahead, Ryan.
And yeah, Shane, to your point, I kind of shared in your sentiment. In entering that Breeders' Cup Juvenile field, I wasn't a fan of any of the Southern California horses. Obviously, East Avenue went to his nose out of the gate, and that changed everything in terms of how that race was going to set up. We were looking at the race chart, and Ferocious does that weird thing where he gives up on the far turn and then re-rallies to get fifth, so he's got to grow up. And, I mean, Citizen Bull and Gaming just had everything their own way that race. So I like the kind of fade angle coming out of there because obviously the buyer figure is going to be pretty high. They ran a nice time, but nobody was really pressed or trying hard for about 3/4 of that race until they had to run for home. And then it was just who's going to ride harder. So I'm with you that I don't think that was the strongest Breeders' Cup Juvenile field ever. And I don't think it's the strongest contingent the West Coast juveniles have ran in. And I mean, sticking to Bob Baffert, who obviously has always so many top threatening 2-year-olds, I don't think his best one has run in California yet. I mean, obviously I'm kind of referring to Barnes. That win he had was nice. I want to see what he does stretching out, but I'm not sold on any of the ones he's had go around 2 turns yet.
Yeah. Last thing I'll say before we wrap up the show, it's kind of funny because you've got the 3 horses coming out of the maiden race at Del Mar, and then you got the 2 coming out of the juvenile, and the buyers, like the discrepancy between buyers is there, but it just seems like these 5 are so evenly matched. So from a betting perspective, I think it's going to be really interesting to see who takes money. I'm sure Gaming will take money with Pratt coming into ride, and then the second place finish in the juvenile. But I think it's really interesting. As we go ahead and wrap up the show, Shane, it's been quite a pleasure to have you. We've had you for a very long hour and 32 minutes. So your final thoughts on the sequence, and hopefully we can get you on one more time, maybe before the or hopefully more than one time.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me on, guys. The pick 4 sequence, I think a lot of times at Los Al, people don't play it because it just looks chalky. To me, though, if you can, I love doing, I guess, I don't know if they're called caveman tickets or what, but I love playing skinny tickets at Los Al, especially because TVG's got this promo where you split an extra $2K if you hit it. I play a pick 4 on TVG almost every day of the Los Al meet, late pick 4. And I play very skinny. I play it like a $5-10 one. And you know what? If you can be right and keep that cost down, you can pay out. So you're going to have to take some stands. But I think this is an interesting sequence. With the maiden races, there's so much garbage happening in this sequence. I think we'll see a bomb somewhere. And like Katie said, we might end up with the other Baffert in this stake.
Yeah, no, lot of great points from your end. Some questionable points from my co-host, Mr. Ryan Anderson. But he'll be back and on his A game next week. For our guest, Mr. Shane O'Neill, and my co-host Ryan Anderson, this has been Noah Meagher. This has been episode 9 of Pacific Horseplayers, covering the Los Al Futurity, the late pick 4, and a little snippet with Mr. Doug O'Neill himself. Make sure you check us out next week, and we will see you then. Peace out. PHP out.